Our love story started as all good ones do, on Tinder. We chatted on the app for about a week before he finally got up the courage to ask me to get a drink. Jacob was the perfect average male. He's tall, has average attractiveness, has a semi-good but always stable job, and didn't live at home with his parents. On our first date, he charmed the pants off me, literally. He told me how beautiful I was and how he couldn't believe someone as amazing as I needed to use Tinder to get dates. So, around our fifth drink, I finished the whole thing in a gulp and told him I wanted to go back to his place. We moved pretty fast after that. By the end of month 1, I was staying at his place 4 nights out of the week. He had already met my mom. We shared everything. Well, almost everything. Jacob was very quiet about his past relationships. All he said was that his last 2 serious girlfriends were crazy. When I tried to pry more out of him, he would leave the room. Knowing how girls can be sometimes, I didn't ever try too hard to get information out of him. One day, when we had been dating for about 2 months, I came down with an awful flu. Jacob insisted that I stayed at his house while he was at work. I fell in and out of sleep while watching bad soap operas. I woke up to some shaking me. Assuming it was Jacob, I didn't open my eyes and turned away. "Jennifer, you have to get up. I need to talk to you," a female voice whispered. I immediately opened my eyes and backed away. "Who are you? Why are you here?" I screamed at her. "Please lower your voice. My name is Holly. You're in danger," she whispered hurriedly at me. "Yeah, I know. There's a crazy lady in my boyfriend's house," I yelled back at her. We both freeze as we hear a key turn in the lock. "Jacob is not who he says he is. You need to leave. He will kill you," she said. As she runs through the door, she stops to look at me one last time. I can see pity in her eyes, but also something else. It kind of looked like fear. "Hey, babe, I left work a little early. What have you been up to?" Jacob asked, putting his briefcase on the dresser. "You didn't see her? She would have had to run past you to get out of here," I replied, studying his face. His smile fell for just a second and then returned to its normal piercing way. "Who? Are you hallucinating? You must be more sick than I thought," he said, putting a hand to my forehead. "Holly. Your ex-girlfriend Holly was just here. She said you would kill me," I said. "She's crazy. I'll call the police. I told you she was crazy," he said, heading towards the door. "Why is she so crazy?" I asked. "If her or Lily, my other girlfriend, ever try to contact you, you need to run. If their families try to, call the police. These women are insane," he said, and with that, he shut the door. For the next few days, I was confined to bed as my cold had completely taken over. Jacob stayed home for work. He took away my cell phone and laptop because he said the radiation would make me worse. Anytime I tried to bring up Holly, he would change the subject and say the police were working on it. Finally, a few days later, he had to run to the store. We had run out of toilet paper. He couldn't just order food anymore. The minute he left, I started searching for my laptop. It took me 15 minutes, but I finally found it hidden in a cabinet. I immediately opened it and started trying to find out whatever I could about these women. I found Jacob's Facebook and looked through his contacts, but he wasn't friends with any women named Holly or Lily. After various searches, I found his MySpace page. On there, he had posted about a woman named Holly Campbell. I Googled her name and a few news articles came up from 2 years back. I clicked on the first one, "Missing Girl Vanished Without a Trace." The article then went on to explain how they believed her boyfriend, Steve Hutchers, was responsible. but no one had been able to find him. They posted a picture of him, and although it didn't look like the Jacob I knew, it was him. He changed his hair and aspects of his face, such as adding a mole below his right eye, but he still had that smile. I heard a small sound behind me. As I turned around, I saw a swift movement, and everything went black. Now I'm downstairs in Jacob's basement, the basement I didn't know existed. Lily and Holly are down here too, but they have long since passed. I think Holly's ghost was trying to protect me. I wish I had listened to her. He didn't know I had my cell phone on me, but I couldn't get any service. I've been trying to call the police, but nothing goes through. I'm hoping this post will. I think it is too late for me, but maybe not for you. Never trust a guy who only has crazy ex-girlfriends. He's the common denominator. Feel free to judge me all you want. Of course it's against the law. Of course it's a violation of her privacy. Why else would I be using a throwaway? But there were some emails I sent her when we were still together, things we promised to keep between the two of us. They didn't involve any illegal activity. Having said that, the subject matter was very personal, and given how ugly and nasty the divorce has been going, I have no idea what she might do with the messages. So I decided to take matters into my own hands. I was determined to find a way into her account and get rid of every message she could use to publicly shame me. I didn't know the first thing about hacking, but I knew you could hire people to do it for you. Obviously, these guys don't advertise in the yellow pages, but as I soon found out, they're easy to find as long as you're willing to venture into the deep web. I had downloaded a Tor browser a few months prior, but every time I thought about using it, I chickened out. But that was for good reasons. I'd heard that in the deep web, you might have child pornography pop up on your browser, even if you weren't looking for it. Well, last night, I got pretty drunk, and I said, fuck it. I plunged into the waters of the deep web, hoping to find someone who could assist me, rather than a deluge of child porn. Turns out, it's organized pretty well for what is basically an underground internet crime syndicate. I saw links to sites where you could buy drugs, download snuff films, and even hire assassins. Eventually, I found what I was looking for, a message board called Hackers for Hire. I made a post outlining the details of what I wanted done. I got a surprisingly quick reply from a guy named X. Yup, that's his whole username, just X. All he said was that he'd get in touch with me tomorrow. This morning, I woke up with a brutal hangover, an immediate sense of regret for what I'd done last night, and a new message in my Reddit inbox. It was a message from X himself. I have no idea why a hacker would PM someone on Reddit unless he was hiding behind like 7 proxies. But I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. For all I know, that isn't even possible. Right away, I knew something was up because his username was, well, just check the screenshot. It's one fucking letter. Reddit has never allowed one-letter usernames. Believe it or not, the link in his PM is a link to this sub, specifically the thread for this week's top-rated post. I'm guessing many of you have read it. It's called Loved Seeing You Last Week. Thank you for fixing my computer. Every other post here looks normal, but the one he linked me to is glitchy. The text keeps changing, but it happens so fast that I can't figure out what he's trying to say. Maybe it's the address for a meetup? Well, that was the first thought that came to mind, but it only took me a moment's thought to realize how dumb it was. Most likely, the guy's in China or Romania or who the fuck knows where. I noticed the screen changes weren't random. It was like the same pattern on loop. so I took a screen recording. I would greatly appreciate it if one of you guys could tell me if it means anything. I understand if you're repulsed. I'm even asking, given what I did yesterday. He tried to run. I am by no means a brave man. I won't lie and say I couldn't have stopped this from happening if I tried, if I had just handled everything like I knew I should have. But I didn't, and I paid for it. The TV was filling my apartment with white noise as I tried to study, but I couldn't focus. Only a few hours before, I sent my girlfriend of 4 years a text message explaining my desire to break up. A fucking text message. I'm a sleazeball asshole, I know, but she had begun to scare me over the past few months. It wasn't major things at first, just a strange, unsettling turn in conversation. I could laugh it off then. I convinced myself she just had a strange sense of humor. But after a while, it escalated to weirder and weirder things. She would command me to slap her and pretend to rape her during sex, calling me a bad lover if I refused. Occasionally, she would make me late to work by hiding my car keys until I role-played violently with her. When I talked to her about it, she just told me that real men were dominant with their women and that I should be grateful to have such a willing girlfriend. I felt justified in breaking up with her, although my methods were misguided. In any case, I received a call as I expected, and it was Vicky. She spoke before I could even say hello. Why? It was a demand more than a question. It sounded as though she had been crying. It's a long story that you won't like, I said, hoping to discourage her from pursuing the issue. I secretly wished she would just hate me and ignore me forever. How long have you known? The sadness in her voice vanished instantly, leaving a cold, clinical tone behind. What? I asked earnestly. That we weren't meant for each other? Don't play fucking dumb with me, David, she hissed. Who did you see? Greg. I was sloppy with him. You had sex with Greg? I asked feebly, feeling the blood throbbing in my ears. He was a mutual friend of ours. Oh my God, you actually don't know. She seemed on the verge of laughter. I knew you were a dunce of a boy, but come on. Nobody can keep a secret like that forever. I had never heard her voice sound like this, confident, slick, like a cat in a world of mice. I should have ended this so long ago. I tried to find some memory to disprove the suspicions, but I couldn't. I love you, David. She must have thought she sounded sweet, but her voice was positively overflowing with crazy. Please don't leave me. I could turn you into the police, you know, I threatened. Sexual harassment charges. Do it, and I fucking kill you. Any doubt I had of her guilt vanished. I felt my insides turn to ice at her words. Do you understand what I'm fucking telling you, David? I will fucking kill you, along with everyone you love. Answer me, I yelled out loud and hung up the phone hastily. I checked all the windows and doors to make sure they were sealed and locked. Then I remembered that Vicky was back in my hometown, 3 states away. Better safe than sorry, I supposed. Of course, being the jackass I was, I didn't think to contact any of my loved ones to warn them. Later that night, as I was getting ready for bed, I got another call. To my relief, it was my mother. Hello, I answered. David, whatever is happening between you and Vicky, you can work it out together. She sounded strained, like she was flexing her abs the whole time she was speaking. Mom, how do you know about me and Vicky? Please, call her right now and make up with her. She's a sweet girl, and you deserve each other. I still couldn't quite place what was wrong with my mom's voice, but something was definitely wrong. What's going on? Did she contact you? I asked. I bet she would. She would even do anal if you got back together. My mom started weeping openly. Suddenly, I understood. She was reading from cue cards. David, please. Vicky, if you're there, don't you dare touch my mother, I shouted. There was the sound of a phone changing hands. Listen to your mother, she screamed. I love you, David. I love you. Please. I put the phone on speaker and tiptoed over to my junk drawer where there were a few old brick phones. I kept testing each of them to see if they had any battery power left. Even without a service contract, they should still be able to dial 911. David, please speak to me, she cooed, insanity lacing her every word. Don't make me do it, David. She fears death. Then she hung up. I don't really know what to do now. I've tried calling the police a few times, but for some reason, none of my phones are working. I'm terrified to leave my apartment, even though I know Vicky is hundreds of miles away. I'm considering driving home tonight. She has my mom.